Likewise, he will establish burial spaces for freedmen and freedwomen and their descendants, as long as our original name pertains to them. But if our original name should be absent, the tomb defaults to the owner of the land. The inclusion of shops and residences within a funerary plot might seem incongruous, but Baronicianus's epitaph highlights an element of Roman urbanism that has long been underemphasized and misunderstood: the interweaving of structures for the living and the dead in urban zones outside the city proper. Undoubtedly, a Roman city was a bounded space, defined by borders both physical and conceptual, fortification walls, customs checkpoints, sacred perimeters, and more. The city stood apart as a concentration of life and activity that was not only physically but also legally, economically, and ritually separated from its surroundings. A key area of control was death. The dead were excluded from the city center, with interment barred in every Roman law code from the 12 tables of the 5th century BCE to the Imperial laws of Late Antiquity. Nevertheless, the Augustan and early Imperial periods saw the development of suburbs, built-up areas beyond the bounded center where the dead and the living came together in environments that could become densely urban. Suburbs featured tombs, both simple and elaborate, while also incorporating a dynamic assortment of other structures and spaces, from rubbish dumps to shrines and sanctuaries, from shops, inns, and restaurants to major entertainment buildings, from the shacks of the humble to the villas of society's most powerful. Emerging across Italy, these neighborhoods were integral parts of the city, but even so maintained their own character, defined by a variety of factors, but above all by the presence of the dead. The suburbs of Roman Italy, their nature, history, and development, are the subject of this book. One more in an array of changes that shook urban life to its core in the first centuries BCE and CE. Suburbs arose in response to a suite of stimuli not limited to growing populations. As I recount in the following chapters, additional forces entwined with that most straightforward catalyst, including the increasing prosperity of cities and their residents, contemporary emphases on the security and interconnection of the Italian peninsula, and the intense social competition, unprecedented in scope and scale, that accompanied those other changes. Intersecting at a crucial moment in Italy's history, such forces created a new ideal of cities that surpassed their boundaries to stretch towards their neighbors, making up a vast network united in peace and threatened by neither civil nor foreign conflict. Within this atmosphere, various resources drew development to the zone outside the city proper, not least of which was the presence of tombs. Beyond the official boundaries of the city, funerary monuments mingled with buildings of all types and themselves spurred further growth. The resulting suburbs were undeniably part of, but always distinguishable within, the city as a whole, neighborhoods where economic production, social interaction, and urban display transpired in ways unavailable in the city center. This project is indebted to over half a century of interest in urbanism outside the formal boundaries of Roman cities. The subject, however, spent many decades at the margins of scholarship, and the vast majority of research conducted in the 20th century retained a tight focus on city centers, and particularly on monumental public spaces. Economic arguments dominant in the later part of the century, moreover, most notably the consumer-producer-city debate, assumed a strict divide between city and territory that left little room for suburbs. Nevertheless, some valuable studies pointed towards greater complexity by highlighting extramural development. The new generation of research on Roman suburbs that has emerged and intensified over the past